Hello, Warrior. It's Lawrence Stone here again, the basic trainer establishing a rhythm to your vision. Definitely give me some feedback when this is posted on the YouTube channel. Comment, let me know what I can do to help improve these videos. I also want to know what kind of things you would like me to talk about and what kind of content I can bring to you and train you on. I'd love to help coach you with some stuff and know what you need help with. With that, today's quote, it comes from Carrie Wilkerson. And I heard this in a podcast interview she did one time, and I played it over and over again because I thought it was a very profound quote when I heard it. This is, we let ourselves down by letting ourselves off the hook. Okay, I want you to think about that. I'm going to say it again. We let ourselves down by letting ourselves off the hook. I want you to think about times in your life where you've been disappointed and you realize it's because you haven't done a sufficient job. Okay. But you're thinking about that, I got a story I'm going to share with you about my littlest boy. He cracks me up. He's a good kid. All my kids are good kids. I love all my kids, of course. And with my kids, and anyone who has a parent has probably don't have the same issue, where sometimes your kids just show up at the table and they're not interested in eating. They barely touch their food, and you're just working with them to try to convince them to eat. Well, what I do is when they decide they're done, I grab their plate and I say, great, my food. And I take a spoonful, and then before I can eat it, and I pretend like I'm going to eat it, and then before I do, a lot of times they'll take the food back and like, no, this is my food, and then they'll eat it. Occasionally I'll have the moment where they just don't care. And if I wanted to eat their food, I do. Sometimes I would, depending on what, how hungry I was, how delicious the food was that day. Like, I ain't going to let that food go to waste, okay? I got to eat it, right? With our youngest son, it's not quite that way. I do that same thing with him. All right, my food, I'm going to eat it. And immediately he gets mad at me and he yells at me, no! And then he takes my hand with the spoon in it and he puts it back on the table. And then he makes sure my hand lets go of the spoon. Then he pushes the plate to the side and he stares me down. He says, no, my food. And I say, well, then go ahead and eat it. No. Well, if you're not going to eat it, then I'm going to eat it. No, my food. And this goes on until eventually they say, fine, take care of your dishes. He goes, he dumps the food in the garbage, puts his plate in the sink, and he runs off and plays and is quite happy and content that I didn't take his food. He was responsible for his food. Well, one day, we're at this event, and, when we got our kids there, we usually bring some snacks, especially for the youngest one, to kind of help keep him calm and keep him quiet, keep him from getting noisy and out of hand. And my wife hands me a package of fruit snacks. And I do my usual thing. I open the package of fruit snacks. I take one out and I pretend like I'm going to eat it. And then the kids will come running and like, nope, this is mine. And they think it's this big game that they're taking my fruit snacks. They actually act like it's my fruit snacks and they're taking it from me. And they think it's hilarious. So our youngest comes along and he actually doesn't even come up to me. He's a couple people down. And he looks at me as I'm about to eat the fruit snack and he yells, no, my fruit snack. The usual. And he stares me down and he points at me until I put the fruit snack back in the package. And I set the package down. But this time he did something different. This time he didn't come and take the package from me. He left it in my hand. And he goes back to playing and doing whatever. After a couple minutes, he's not looking at me. And I want the fruit snack. I don't want it to go to waste. So I casually reach down, grab one, and pop it in my mouth. Right? Next thing I hear is this loud scream, no! And he points at me and he yells at me and says, my fruit snack! And he runs over to me. He grabs the package out of my hand and he throws it on the ground. And he says, my fruit snack! And he gives me this evil stare down. And then he gets sad. Then he collapses to the floor. And he starts crying. And I feel bad for him, right? So I stick out my arms. I motion for him to come sit on my lap. And he does. He climbs up and he sits on my lap. And I'm holding him. And I realize that he's not mad at me. He let himself down. He's disappointed in himself because rather than come and take the food away from me like he was supposed to because it was his food, he went ahead and let me hold on to it. And the consequence of that is I was going to eat it. And he wasn't mad at me. He let himself off the hook and he was upset with himself. And think about that. And I think this is a childlike quality that we're supposed to have in our lives. When they talk about being childlike, this is one of those qualities, is personal responsibility. Don't let yourself off the hook. And at some point in our lives, as we surround ourselves with more and more people, we find that there's more and more excuses and more reasons of why we can blame somebody else. And we don't need to take personal responsibility in our lives. Okay? And it happens throughout our lives. As a little kid, we're at a picnic and there's pizza there and we set our food on the ground and then the dog comes and eats it. And we're mad at the dog for doing what dogs do by sniffing out food and eating it, even though we knew better than to just leave our plate out in front of the dog to tempt it, right? Or we grow up and we have a test coming up and we know it's coming up. And we wait until the last minute to study for that test, and then we barely pass it or don't pass it. And our excuse is, well, I just didn't get enough sleep last night because I was up late studying. You had all this time to study. Don't blame it on it's not sleeping. Or maybe when you had to get up and take the test, you woke up and instead of hitting the snooze button on your alarm, you turned off your alarm accidentally, and then you get to class late, and you're like, sorry, my alarm didn't wake me up. It's all my alarm's fault that I didn't have responsibility to get out of bed when it went off. Okay? We're always finding something else. We have employees that work for us, and we give them a project. We say, we need you to take care of this, but we don't give them enough resources or enough time, or they're not adequately trained. And then they screw it up. And we're mad at the employee because we didn't take time to teach them. Okay? We need to take personal responsibility for things. The big one that I see a lot is, I just don't know why I can't get ahead in life. Why is God punishing me? I go to church. I donate and pay tithing. I read my scriptures. I pray. I do all these things. And I just can't get ahead in life. Life keeps beating me down. I keep having to start all over. I can't make any money. I'm having a hard time providing for my family. Why is it that God is not taking care of me? And I find that this is the most common one. And a lot of people are walking away from their faith just because God isn't doing things for them. God is the easy person to blame when things are going wrong. It's God's fault that I can't get ahead in life. It's his fault that I'm not making enough money. I go to church and that takes time out of my day when I could be working or even playing with my family. It's his fault. Are we really paying attention to whose fault it is? So another story, just kind of to illustrate this, a while back, I was starting a new job. And I was a little concerned because I never felt like I'd had sufficient success to do the things that I wanted to do. And I was working with a mentor at the time, and I asked him, and I said, I feel like God doesn't want me to succeed. I feel like he's holding me back, and maybe I'm concerned that the reason why is because if I were to succeed, maybe I'd screw things up and my life wouldn't be in a good place. And I didn't really believe this. This was just some of the negative self-talk that was going through my head. And I wanted basically someone to reassure me. I was just expecting this great pep talk about, no, it's not true. God wants everyone to succeed. You just have to keep going, keep pushing forward. He's just waiting for you to pick the right path. This could really be it. Good things are gonna happen, and so on and so forth. And that isn't even close to what I got. But I definitely got something better. He asked me a few questions, and then he says to me, so it seems like you're blaming God for your inability to succeed. I didn't like the way that sounded at all. I did not want to say, oh, I'm blaming God. It's all God's fault. No. And so I tried to deny it. And he's like, no, because you need to listen to what you're saying. You think it's God's fault that you're not succeeding. You're blaming God. And I thought about it for a moment, and finally I came to the conclusion, and I fought it. I didn't want to believe that I was blaming God for anything. But finally I said, yeah, you're right. I'm blaming God. As soon as I said that, I all of a sudden felt freer. I actually felt better. Not because I was blaming God, but because all of a sudden I was moving from blaming God to personal responsibility. Once I recognized what I was doing wrong, I decided it was time to fix it. And we had a great conversation talking about that. And as I've thought about it and researched and looked into it since then, I've realized I've had a misunderstanding of how God's going to help me. I expected that he was going to have me do things, make me do things to be successful, or that people were going to line up outside my door and come in and shower money down on me because I was going to help them. It just doesn't work that way. God isn't going to make anybody do anything. You have to understand that. Yeah, he might give you guidance and he might give you inspiration, but you have to choose to go and do it. And the more you do it, the more he's going to give you inspiration. But if you ignore what he's telling you to do, the less likely you're going to be able to pay attention to the next inspiration. Okay? Once I understood that, I needed to take personal responsibility. Yeah, I can pray and ask for God's help, but it was my responsibility. And I listen to successful people talk about it who have faith in God. And they say, yeah, God was there with me, helping me and giving me information. But they were the ones that went out and did the work. They went and got it done. And I think God wants you to feel accomplished. I think he wants you to get things done. And so that's why that's one of the reasons why he's not going to just do it for you. You need to feel that accomplishment. You need to know what it's like to go and get it done. So next time you're blaming someone or something else, I want you to reevaluate it. Say it out loud. I'm blaming so-and-so. I'm blaming this situation. And that's not right. I'm now accepting personal responsibility, and I'm going to move forward. This is your homework, and this is your assignment this week. Evaluate something in your life that you need to be taking responsibility for that you haven't been taking responsibility for. Stand up, dust yourself off, go forward, and take responsibility for it, and do something great. I still believe amazing things are going to happen in your life. I need you to believe it too. And one of the things you need to do to make those amazing things happen is take responsibility for your actions. Learn from them and move forward. Learn how to articulate more when you're speaking into a camera. Okay? I accept that responsibility. I need to do better with that sometimes. But I know you're going to do amazing things. Just go out and show the world. Watch what happens. Hello again, Warrior. Quick follow-up. I'm super excited to announce that I've been learning and training with the John Maxwell leadership team to be able to create new curriculum and teach some of John Maxwell's principles and some of his books. And I have a lot of great opportunities to be able to do that now. I'm actually starting this month a business mastermind group. And if you're interested, the first class is free. I will be doing 2 a month that you can come and participate in. This month, it's only going to be one. I'm going to do an online one next week on May 11th, I believe is the date. Yeah. Thursday, May 11th at 10 o'clock. I will include a link in the description of the video, but it's going to be the second Thursday of each month going forward. And that link should allow you to register through most of the year. I'll update it as needed when I create new curriculums and whatnot. But it's a Zoom link to register, and it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for you to be able to network and mastermind together. We'll be masterminding around the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell, a fantastic book with lots of principles to teach you about growing yourself and your company and creating a growth plan. It'll be great. We'll go over the first law in this mastermind class. And if you want to sign up for additional mastermind classes, we'll talk about it then. I'll also be doing an in-person class the first Thursday of each month, which will start in June. That'll be at 9:30 here in Idaho Falls at the Idaho Innovation Center. If you're interested, I'll have a sign-up form posted for that soon as well. But definitely come, interact with people, mastermind with people. If you have a group of people that you would like to have your own specific mastermind course, we can set that up. Or if you'd like me to come in and teach this to the people who you work with, to your employees, to your team, so that we can help create growth within your organization as well, I'd be happy to do that as well. Reach out to me, thebasictrainer.com or thebasictrainer@gmail.com. And I would love to help set up those things and help you grow and help your team advance. Thank you.